So after we have learned how to graph quadratics, today we're going to learn how to solve quadratics. So this is our next step. We are going to learn to solve by graphing, but as you have seen over the last couple days, graphing quadratics is a pain. So we're going to use Desmos to help us. So you're going to need to go to your Desmos app and then maybe back to the video, but do what I ask you to do in Desmos so you know what's going on, so that when you do the practice in a little while, you'll know how to use Desmos to help you, okay? So we are going to find what are called the roots of a quadratic. Now, the roots of a quadratic are the points where a parabola, remember that the graph of a quadratic is a parabola, that's that U-shaped thing, cross the x-axis. So when you are asked to solve a quadratic, you are finding the roots, and that's where the parabola crosses the x-axis. Now, there are several things, or a couple of other things we could call this. What do we call where something crosses the x-axis? They might call it the x-intercepts, right? We talked about that with a line. Where a line crosses the x-axis is called the x-intercept. Same thing with a parabola. It might be called the solution. We're solving, right? We're finding the solutions. And the third thing it could be called are the zeros. So if you are ever asked to find the roots, solutions, x-intercepts, zeros, that's all the same thing. And really the easiest way to think about it is the x-intercepts, where that, whatever you're graphing, where it crosses the x-axis, okay? Now think about a parabola. Think about what can happen with a parabola and it crossing the x-axis. There are three things that could happen. One, your parabola could cross the x-axis in two places, right? So it has two solutions. How could it have one solution? How could a parabola only cross the x-axis in one point? What would that look like? What if the vertex was on the axis? And I missed it a little bit there. But if the vertex is on the axis, then it has one solution. What would a parabola with no solution look like? How would it not intersect the x-axis at all? What about something like this? This parabola keeps going forever this way and will never cross the x-axis. It could also be down here somewhere, right, and have a negative leading coefficient pointing down, and then it would never cross the x-axis. So a parabola or a quadratic can have two solutions, one solution, or no solutions. So here's what we're going to do. You see this equation, you see the table, you see the graph, and you think, ugh, not again. Today, you're going to use Desmos, all right? I want you to go to Desmos. I want you to type this equation into Desmos. And when you do that, there should be a parabola, okay? Now, in order to find the table, what I want you to do, hit the gear button up above where you typed in the equation, and you should see a little icon, and it's a table icon. So you're going to click that table, and it's going to give you a table, and it's going to point out some points for you, okay? The first thing I want you to do is to put the vertex right here in this box in the middle. So the vertex of this parabola is -2, -9. So I'm going to write the -2, -9 in my box. Now, it only gives me one side, but you're going to use the fact that a parabola is symmetric to help you fill out the rest of the table. So I see -1, -8. Whoops, I put that in the wrong spot. -1, -8. I see 0, -5. And I see 1, 0. Okay? Now, remember what we know about a parabola. It's symmetric, so I can fill out this other side using what I just did. Okay? Now, then I want you to come over here, graph what you can. If it doesn't fit on the graph, don't worry about it. Just graph what you can. -1, -8. 0, -5, 1, 0. Do the same over here. Doot, 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 I think. Is that right? And here's your parabola, okay? So we've graphed it. Now we're trying to find the solutions. Where does this parabola cross the x-axis? It crosses there and there. Now my graph is kind of stinky, but those are the 2 points that it crosses the x-axis. It crosses the x-axis at x equals -5, and it crosses the x-axis at 1. Those are our solutions, okay? So you can either write it just like this, or you can put it in solution brackets. This is not writing it as a coordinate, but do your little squiggly brackets. -5, 1, that is the solution set to this. Now, tell me one more thing. Look at this table. How could I find my solutions, my roots, in the table? What's true about every x-intercept? The y value is 0, right? So there's the 1, 0. There's the -5, 0. So we can find it from the graph. We can find it from the table. So here's the next one. Y equals x squared minus 2x plus 1. Put that into Desmos and get the graph of the parabola. Okay, did you get it? So the next thing you need to do is hit your gear button, get the table. I want you to find the vertex, put the vertex in the middle, and then fill out the rest of the table. Okay, that's the table I got. Is that the table you got? Isn't that a whole lot easier than plugging all those values in and trying to figure them out? Okay, so the next thing I want you to do is now graph this parabola. All right, there's the graph. Now, where does this parabola cross the x-axis? It crosses the x-axis right there. What's the x value there? X is 1. So this has one solution. I didn't put it on the one before, but the one before has 2 solutions. This only has 1. How could we have found it from the table? Well, for the x-intercept, the y value is 0, so we see right here. So since the vertex is on the axis, there's just one solution. All right, one more. You go to Desmos, you do this one all by yourself, put in the equation, put in the table, put in the graph, find the number of solutions, or these solutions if there is a solution, and then turn the video back on to check your work. All right, so this one, I got the table, but not everything fits on this graph. But you can see that this parabola is pointing down. It does not cross the x-axis at all. So we would say this has no solution, is how you would write that, okay? Doesn't cross the x-axis at all, no solution. So if you will use Desmos to help you, still going to be a little bit of a pain, but so much better than what we were doing with plugging things in. And now you're ready to do your practice.